Glarryford. Well, you're all very well behaved. Makes a change, doesn't it? I hope you all enjoyed your tea. Thank you. We made it ourselves, of course, but anyway, don't worry. The play was great. I have to say, this gives me great pleasure to introduce a really good friend of mine tonight, Heather Wildman. I think we first met about 7 years ago, maybe it is now, through the Royal Countryside Fund, through programmes which Heather's been involved with. And we've had some great fun since, but we'll maybe not tell you too much about that. But I'll give you a little bit of background. She's from Cumbria, but she is living currently on a dairy farm in Scotland near Carlisle. She is still involved in Young Farmers. You know the way you want to join Young Farmers, you never have. Well, she's still a young farmer and was one of the key people in commencing the Cultivating Leaders programme in Scotland, and also for bringing it over here, so she still keeps heavily involved. She's a Nuffield scholar, she's a former chair of the Women in Agriculture in Scotland, and very heavily involved in the Royal Highland Show. If you ever go there, you'll definitely see Heather looking very glamorous, because she's usually flitting around from here, there and everywhere. And just last year she was awarded Advisor of the Year by the Scottish Farmer. Not just Lady Advisor, Advisor of the Year. So I think that's a big round of applause. So you're in for a treat. There's no back doors from Heather, so you know it's all very open and honest, and enjoy. And I'll hand you over to Heather now. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and one or two gents. It's quite nice to have this dynamic and this different mix. So yeah, managing your expectations after Gillian's given that rather grand introduction. I am not a lawyer, not an accountant, not a solicitor. I have no legal training whatsoever. So some of you might think, well, that was a very nice supper, but why are we here? Because I know for many, many people, when we talk about succession, it is often all focused on tax. And tax is very, very important. And I know for many farming families, and farmers in particular, you know, their whole life's ambition is to, when they hit the ground, they're in that grave, on their headstone, written in large words, is, I farmed and I paid no tax. Hurrah! Yes, mission accomplished. And that, you know, joking aside, tax is a massive thing. But if you are, that is your ambition, is to manage everything for tax, I always advise my clients to please leave enough money for therapy and counselling, because often what is right for the taxman is not what's right for the farming family. So with that in mind, yes, tonight we're going to talk about succession. One day, son, daughter, darling, this is all going to be yours. Yay! Is it going to be something that brings us joy and happiness, and we're like the Waltons and we all smile and skip and love each other and it's just harmony and fun every day? Or is it going to be another living form of hell? That if we'd known this is what it was going to be about, we'd have run for the hills and never been seen. And I just want to get a gauge, what have we got in the audience? How many of you are the active farmers? Well done. Fabulous. That's so lovely to see. Okay, how many of you are the dreaded in-laws? The problems, because we know everything was fine till the in-laws came along. Isn't that right? How many of you are just nobodies, just got an invested interest? Anyone there? Yeah, an invested interest. So we'll see how we go. But as you can see, I probably take succession a slightly different approach. So who am I? Thank you, Gillian. Yeah, Heather Wildman, a Gobby Cumbrian. I always disappoint as soon as I open my mouth because everyone thinks I'm from Scotland and there's no Hokkaido news, but sometimes it does slip. So yes, I did an Nuffield Farming Scholarship in 2012, and I left school at 15, didn't go to college, didn't go to university. I did the University of Life that was Young Farmers, yay, and just kind of got stuck into work, and I've been really, really lucky. And in 2012, I started getting a little frustrated and had a bit of an itch to scratch, and I did a scholarship on communication, how to influence and motivate change. I never realised how much that scholarship would then go on to change my life, change my career, but actually really change other people's lives and careers potentially as well. So I did the travel. I went to Chile, Peru, Brazil, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Ireland and Wales. I was sailing up the Amazon. I was locked up in a high intensive prison in Penetanguishene in Canada. I was cowboying in Montana before Yellowstone was a big thing. That was awesome. And I met with some amazing industries, sectors, people, ranchers, scientists, psychologists, government, loads and loads of different people from all over the world. And it was amazing. It was a hugely privileged position and experience. And when I was doing my study, I was trying to think, what are the common things in place that help these people influence and motivate change? When they were going through times of stress, times of financial crisis, mental, physical breakdowns, hostile takeovers, bankruptcy, all these different things in sectors, government organisations, communities. All of these businesses that I met that turned it around and were successful, they all had these three really simple things in common. And you'll find out there's a theme with everything that Heather does. It's simple. I don't overcomplicate, I keep it simple. So they all had a vision, a dream, or a goal. How many of you have got a real clarity of vision, or dream, or a goal going forward? Oh, for God's sake. Let's hope you're just shy and a little bit full after your supper. I am sure a number of you will have a vision, a dream, or a goal. And some of you may even have it written down. But how many of you have verbalised that vision or dream or a goal? And I know for a fact that a vision or a dream or a goal, because most of us have it. You wouldn't get up in the morning if you didn't have a vision or a dream or a goal. But God forbid we tell anybody. Because some beggar might steal it and get there before us. And if we haven't verbalised our vision or dream or goal, we can't fail. But a vision or dream or a goal that is written down and communicated and verbalised is 80% more likely to come true. That is huge odds. And that is what a succession plan, written down, verbalised and shared, is 80% more likely to come true. And a lot of farming families went, oh yeah, I've got a vision, a dream, or a goal, Heather, but I'm not going to tell anybody. And I'm thinking, well, how much more difficult are you making your life? And I love farming. My mum and dad are farmers. My brother got the farm. I was never asked, not bitter. And I've worked in agriculture all of my life. And I am blown away by the unique communication and language that farmers use. Many times they do not even open their mouths. It's often a look or a grunt, isn't it? And, vision and dreams and goals, and I sort of think, a really fantastic example of seeing how a farming family communicate and work together is watching them move stock. It is absolutely genius, isn't it? God forbid we say which gate we're going out of, which way we're going, and ask anybody if they've got the keys for the quad bike or the pickup. And it can get a little bit colourful, can't it? A little bit heated. And then we have words, and we sulk, and we strop off, and we don't speak, and then, woohoo, next Sunday the kids are home, so we do it all again. And I've said to some families, in defence of the man, woman, the dog, whoever decided that we needed to move the cattle, the sheep, the giraffes, whatever stock we're moving, they have been thinking about this for days. They know that Fred's put his heifers out there and we've got the bull and the fence isn't that strong. They know Marjorie's having an open garden and she's got everything all great and we've got those lambs out and they tend to be a bit feral and they'll be out and in a garden. We don't want that trouble. You know, you're thinking about all of this, aren't you? And through the power of telepathy, everybody in the family's got the message. But as we know, it's windy here, it's windy in Scotland, it's windy in Cumbria. Telepathy does not work. So just try the next time you are asked to move sheep, cattle, kangaroos, whatever it is in your beautiful order of farming, just say, hang on, write it down, draw a map. Who's doing what? Who's getting by? And I had a lady phone me up after one of these workshops and she said, oh my God, Heather, it worked like a dream. It went so well. We had an ice cream afterwards. Can you imagine? So I'm looking forward. That's a challenge. So, yeah, so visions and dreams and communication and then collaboration. Because anyone that is working with you, that is involved in your business, regardless of how small, if they do not know what your vision or dream or goal is, how can they know when you are upset? How can they know how hard and why you're working? How can they know what you're striving for so that they can get ahead and help you? So regardless of what level you are in the business, you need to share it, so that everybody involved in the business knows what we're going for, what we're working towards. And there might go slightly different ways to get it. Because I have never done anything successfully on my own. And, you know, in agriculture, it's not what you know, it's who you know. The best land is never advertised. The best stock, never advertised. The best people, never advertised. So if you are looking to grow and expand your business, you wanted some more land, you wanted someone to come and help and to work, you may be looking to take it a bit easier. We haven't got any family members to take over the farm, but we don't want to give it up so the next generation have a chance. How much more difficult are you making it if you haven't verbalised these dreams or goals? So think about who is in your network, who is your super team. Who do you need around you to succeed? Because the best teams, think of the Scottish rugby team, maybe the wrong audience. You're not doing so bad yourself. But you know, you think of a team. You know, this tonight didn't just happen by one individual. It's a team, and that's why there's such a great room full of fantastic people. So vision, dreams, communication and collaboration. What is your vision and your dream? Who do you need to communicate it to? What do you need to communicate and how often? And then who do you need around you? Your family, your children, your bank manager. You tell the bank manager nothing. The accountant, you know, the land agent, the auctioneer, your nutritionist, your dairy advisor, your milk company. They all need to know where you're going. And suddenly, when you have that vision of dream and goals shared, winners in life are smiling, they're happy, you're achieving, you're cracking on, and suddenly you start finding yourself getting luckier and achieving more. Because winners in life love what they're doing. Do you love what you're doing? And I look at farmers and I think, bloody hell, sometimes. You see them and look so fucking miserable. And I'll go in and I'll say, well, you know, I've told the kids, get a proper job, go and get another job, you don't want to do this, you know, go and get a job or anything. I said, well, why? Would you do anything different? No, I love it. I said, well, tell your face. And we really, really have to think about this image that is farming. We're so knackered, we're so tired. We work 8 days a week. We get up before we've gone to bed. Nobody works as hard as a farmer. That is bollocks. And I'm sorry if I'm getting colourful. Gillian, give me that tone. I won't. I'll get my mother's look, Helen. You don't need to be potty mouthed. It's not big and it's not clever. But we really need to think about this, because if we are so tired, if we're so knackered, if we don't get to attend things, we're always working, why would anybody else want to come into this business? And we really, really need to think about this. And we all talk about the woes and glows, and we know the weather's been shocking. But my God, there's some countries that would die for the weather that we get. We are so lucky having rain. We are so lucky knowing that it will come. Sometimes it stops. But you know, that's not the worst thing to deal with. So we have to, and it's a choice. And that's what I keep saying. If you're not happy, get out. And we really need to stop this negative spin, because actually some people in farming, God forbid, are making money. Brexit. Beef and sheep, you might as well just say goodbye. Never had sales as good, have we? Did we smile? Did we help? We've got the tax bill now, Helen. You know, because it can be profitable, it can be enjoyable, and we need to bring and put the fun back into farming. So I accidentally got into succession through, I set up my own business, Saviour Associates, in 2014. It's not religious, it's simply saving asses and kicking asses. And behind the scenes, I was doing staff recruitment, leadership, facilitation. Succession was becoming more of an issue. And at that point, there wasn't too many people doing the people side of things. There was a lot of people talking about tax and the legal side, but very little. So I went to Australia. And I did a lot of research, and I came back and I wrote a pack, and I've been kind of developing my own little way. And for me, my family, I moved from Cumbria to Scotland through succession. My family, my mum's one of 5, 2 of the brothers don't speak, are still falling out, and I spent probably over 100, more than 100,000 squabbling about succession. And for me, my legacy that I want to see is, because we hear the horror stories, but it doesn't have to be this difficult. I love that sketch. It was so well done, so relative and real to many, many of us. And it doesn't have to be that difficult, because the one thing that we are all absolutely certain of, ladies and gentlemen, I'm really sorry, but we are all going to die. Oh dear. Yeah, it's not a shock, is it? But hopefully, you know, thankfully, we don't know when. You know, and we know some people are tragically taken cruelly far too soon before they've even started living, and quite frankly, some people are here too long, but that's another talk. You know, but we don't know, and this thing of we are not going to deal with it, because, as we said, I'm only 76, or 70, is it 76? I'm only 76. You know, but we don't know when our day's going to come, and the sooner you start talking about it, because you know, the farm and the business will transition. We cannot hold on to it forever. And whether it be through death, disease, disability, divorce, disasters, or debt, or disagreements, businesses and life will change. And that is the one certainty. And we were just talking about it at the supper table. Some people think by talking about death, it's you know, cursed. Well, it actually isn't. I have tried to talk about certain people's deaths, and they're still here. Maybe I'm just unlucky on that one. But you know, when I've been travelling around, the one thing that is guaranteed, regardless of where you are in the world, is you are all unique. You are all completely different. So there is not a Google document that will sort succession, because what is right for you might be okay for you, might be disaster for you, and oh my God, you know, we couldn't entertain it over there. So you will have to think about what you want for your family, how you want to work, how you want to live, who you want involved with it, what the size is, and everything. And the other thing is, to me, it doesn't matter whether you've got a lot. You've got a huge business, loads of different enterprises, significant acreage, or whether you've got a very small, quite sort of frugal, smallholding type thing with just one sector. It is amazing how innovative and entrepreneurial people can be with something quite small, and what an absolute disaster people can make when there's something quite big. And again, it doesn't matter whether you're a 7-generational landowner, or whether you're a tenant farmer, new entrant, contract farmer, whether you have got loads of people wanting to take over the farm, or whether you've nobody that wants to take over the farm. It's not easier, it's not better, it's not worse, it's what you do with what you've got. And that is absolutely key to me. It's what you do with what you've got. The other thing is, once you've sort of thought about what you want for your family, this is the difficult bit, and this is where we often freeze. You need to get professional legal advice. How much? It's our idea. We don't need to pay that. We can just do it ourselves. We don't need a lawyer involved. We don't need a solicitor. We don't need to write it down, because we'll save a few pounds. Trust me, by saving a few £100s now can cost you tens, if not into the hundreds of thousands of pounds down the line. So really invest in getting the right professional advice for you. And it doesn't have to be the biggest or the most expensive business that you go to. It has to be someone that understands you, understands your business and talks your language and actually does it. And I have been blown away by the difference in the professionalism of industry and organisations out there, which I know is rich because I don't have any formal education at all. And there are some amazing people out there, and there are some shocking ones. And often when we're talking about succession, this is when we transition our accountant, our solicitor, because maybe they were great for the previous generation. They're looking to retire as our parents are looking to retire. So we need to get the feelers out there and think, who's a good accountant? Because agriculture is unique. It is so specialised. And it might be you're like your bookkeeper that you're working with and you just go and bring in some specialist advice. And this is, I've been blown away by the organisations that are supporting this here this evening. You are not alone. You are so well supported. You just need to reach out. So think about that collaboration. Who's a good accountant? Who's a good solicitor? Where would you go? What do I need to do? And you've just got an amazing organisation and network here. Then the next one, and you might say, well, it was all fine till this point, Heather, we have to talk to the family. And I think generations were coming on a long way. From where it was a few generations ago, we didn't bring it up, we were shut down, you were greedy, you were rude, you were instantly disinherited if you brought it up. Whereas now, many families say to me, oh, Heather, it's lovely, we all talk about it, we all know where we are, it's all great. And then the next generation coming forward will say, well, yeah, Mum and Dad, we talk about it, but we haven't actually done anything. And the communication, the sooner you start communicating, the easier it is. And you can manage expectations, because actually, is anybody entitled to inherit? Should you even inherit? Is it even a good thing to be given it? Do you lose that self-worth and everything as well? And if you've been given it, have you got the same fire in your belly and the same drive and everything as well? And do you really want it? Do you really enjoy doing it? And so by having these chats, and it's amazing how many families assume the children don't want it or assume the children do want it and haven't even spoken together as couples. And, I've been really lucky. I've done a number of years now with the young farmers and cultivating leaders, and the kids are brilliant. They say, oh, Heather, best time to talk to Mum and Dad is on a Sunday night. We've had the roast, Mum's had a sherry, Dad's had a can of lager. We're all relaxed and we can talk about anything. But for others, Heather, the only way we can have this conversation is when we're going 70 miles an hour down the dual carriageway, the doors are locked, nobody can get out. But joking aside with that scenario, sometimes not having to make eye contact is really a lot easier, and if it's dark, so we can talk about these emotions, and because sometimes when we talk about these things, we can well up, and it's not that we're sad, it's just emotional, or we colour up, we flush and things, and it's nervous, we're worried about the reaction, because whose role is it to start the conversation? Is it the exiting generation to bring it up? But they often don't want to bring it up because they don't want to put the younger generation on the spot. They don't want to make them feel they have to come home because they know it's hard work, it's maybe not going to give them the greatest return, so they're not wanting to force it, they're hoping they'll come forward. Or is it the younger generation, is it their role to bring it up? And often they don't want to because we're talking death, and I don't want to feel like I'm being greedy or ungrateful, so therefore nobody brings it up. And my answer to you, ladies, it's your job. Every one of you in this room, it is your job to start this conversation. And if I was saying to a room full of young farmers, I'd be saying it's your job. And if I was speaking to a garden shed of retired people, I'd be saying it's your job, because all of us have a responsibility to have this conversation. And any of you that are also involved in industry, whether you're solicitors, accountants, I know there's so many on the palliative and cancer care and different things, it's all of our jobs to bring this up. And I am adamant the pension movement, we can escape it. Oh God, will you just shut up, we'll get it done. So having a conversation and talking about it, and then being respectful for the different generational values. And I always think it's really heartbreaking when we often don't know what our granny, grandpa or aunt or uncle did until we hear the eulogy, and how amazing they are, and all the different stories of what they've done and everything, the farm. And you know, have we actually talked through about how we got the farm, the highs and the lows, and what our wishes and everything are as well, and what a good farmer looked like. He used to be working the land, working the stock, calloused hands, long hours, you know, and falling asleep in his suit. That was a proper farmer. We worked hard. To be honest now, a really successful farmer might do minimum labour work, because a lot of it is doing the office, the admin, and you know, working long hours. Are you actually effective? You know, some farmers now are finishing at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday and having the weekend off, imagine. Laggards, get them disinherited. But there's a will and a way. And, you know, we can work smarter and work more efficient. We don't have to keep working those long hours. But as we know, succession, it's not straightforward. You can have all the tools and have all the answers, and you can still have a nightmare with it. So I'm going to give you my top tips. So Gillian, you need to keep me going with time. So have an honesty meeting. Bring it up, set a date in the diary. Don't overthink it. Just get everyone thinking, what do you want? What do you don't want? I do a questionnaire. And get them all thinking, what's life? What do you love doing? What do you hate doing? What's your ambitions? What's your dreams? And one thing that really frustrates me when I have a family meeting and I say, what do you want? We just want to be happy. We want everyone to get on at Christmas. One day. World War III the rest of the year. But for one day we can be civil. So often I'll say, well, if you don't know what makes you happy, what would make you unhappy? What don't you want? But you've got to start generalising this. And some people, they're better at drawing it. They're better at doing mind maps and different things. But they sow the seed. So when I start with a family, one of the things I want to know is, I want to know who's involved in the business. So I do a genogram. And this is my way, because when I work in a business, I'll do a meeting report afterwards, and I really urge you, whenever you do any family meetings and discussions, write it down and have a family WhatsApp group that's just succession, or a family email address that's just succession, so everybody gets to see it, because often the children at home, they got told 2 or 3 times, and maybe one of your children that's away never gets to hear and can start feeling left out. So it keeps everybody on board. So I'll write everybody down, who's there, if there's been a death, if there's been a divorce, if people are married or not married, so that it helps, because it amazes me. You've had this family meeting, and then we go to the lawyer, accountant, and we don't tell them all the information. We just assume they know. They are not mind readers either. So the more information you've got, that they can get the bigger picture. The next thing I want to know is, what are the assets? What are we actually talking about here? And so many farming families, because of all the press, all the negativity, they think we're doomed. And we know, when you're in farming, we very rarely take anything out. We put every pound of profit back into the business to grow the livestock, to expand the numbers, to grow the acres and everything, to improve the facilities. So we often think we haven't got any options. How can we bring someone in? How can we pay somebody out? All the debt, all the whoa. So this can be liberating. And this is a family that I was involved in just last week, and this This family is unbelievable. These were first generation. And then I'll show you what their asset worth is coming up. But it's a really good way of putting everything down, because often a lot of the kids don't know what we've got. Often mum doesn't know what we've got. Often dad doesn't know what we've got. So it can be quite eye-opening. But then the next one, oh, where's that one gone? Oh, didn't put the valuation. I must have taken that one out. So the next thing, what I would do with these signs is, so I'll have let's just do a fag packet valuation of the farm. Okay, so what's it worth? Might be 2 million, might be 3 million, with the land and the farm in there as well. Let's do a fag packet valuation of the sheep. We normally put the sheep, depending whether they're pedigree, what breed they are, but normally maybe about £100 a sheep. Cattle, depending whether they're dairy, pedigree, beef, whatever, there could be 1,200 to 2,000. So just fag packet, but we tend to be realistic. We're not doing the tax valuations on this one. Machinery and stock and everything as well, so that's your movable. So we'll put all of that in there as well. And then what I want to know is, what is it? Is it a partnership? Is it a sole trader? Is it limited? Who owns the land? Who's in the partnership? And what I tend to find is the kids are in this bottom bit, in the farming business and the movable. And it all looks great where we're putting all the valuation of the assets in. Then we have to put the debt in. And often, the mum and dad, or the dad generally, but not always, sometimes it's in joint name, sometimes it's in mum's name as well. They'll own the farmhouse, the building, the fix, and that's not in the partnership. And then the children are in with mum and dad in the movable, and they've got the debt. But the bizarre thing is, they're told this promise, one day son, daughter, this will all be yours. So they're signed up to 50% or 30% of the debt, but they have zero assets if mum and dad die. And that will doesn't back up what they've been told. It's not really a good deal. And hence why we often get the in-laws going, well, what happens if you die? What happens if such and such? And this is what causes the stress. And they're not being difficult, they're just looking after their family unit. We've done a risk assessment, ladies and gentlemen, and hell, we're at risk. Just by the family not talking, and then because and so many times we don't bring the children into the partnership because of the wee lad or lassie from Belfast that could steal it all, that then actually self-professes, and the marriage breaks down because of the frustration. So that's how I will set it all up. And generally, like that farm was actually worth 1.9 million, and they started it with nothing. So I said, your 31 years of farming has not been for nothing. Well done. Do we celebrate that? And then also, it really helps for children then coming in to think, well, what do we do? We might have 3 kids, we might have 4 kids, we might have 2 kids. They might all want to farm, none of them might want to farm. How do we treat them fairly? How do we treat them equally? And as we know, someone says, oh, I've got 4 children, I love them all equally, I have to treat them the same, and you know that's a lie. You always have a favourite. And as mad as this might sound in this room, I don't mind if mum and dad say we've got 4 children, we've got all of this wealth and asset, it will be split equally. Well, that's ridiculous. The viability of the farm's good, you can't do that. Whoa! A quarter of something is better than half of nothing. And as long as you know from day one when you come into the farm, and this is why it's so important to start these conversations as soon as, so that the farming kids, the day they come into the business, everything is valued. So that they know whatever they build and grow, they've got the uplift on that, because what it is valued at is that's what they pay their siblings off at. And they will pay their siblings off on the second death. So there's another plus point, that the longer they keep you alive, the longer they get to farm and to save up money to pay off the siblings. And then it's up to them. They can take an insurance policy out, they can sell something, they can put a diversification on, or they could just sell it when that time comes because they've had their fun. But it's okay to do that, and it's you about being firm, fair and consistent. Other times it might be, well, no, we got the chance to farm in our this farm will only be viable if one person takes it on. So It might be there's an obvious successor. The family I'm going to see tomorrow, 2 boys, both want to farm. One went off and worked abroad and had a fantastic career. So the younger child was the one that's going to inherit it, was told all along you inherit it. The prodigal older child has come back and has been helping out and everything, got the bug again. I want my share. Guess what? The child that was home all that time is feeling pretty put out, pretty hurt, because suddenly the rules have changed. And, you know, they don't want to work together. Mum, dad and a child really want to work together. The other one doesn't. And guess what? Who's the problem? The in-law. You know, but, you know, and mum and dad don't want to pick between them, but sometimes you have to. Sometimes you have to say, this is the way it is. And it might be that the non-farming kids might get the cottage, the house in the town, and we put the shares and everything in place. And that seems really unfair, but as we know, the farm is pretty hard. It's not going to give that much an income. The off-farming kids will probably earn an awful lot more with their own careers. But if they sell that farm, suddenly, there's a bit of land or something. So what we've been known to do with quite a lot of our clients now is put an uplift in, or put some clauses in that if said son or daughter who gets the farm, if they decide to sell it or die and it comes back into the family, the other siblings get a percentage of it. Or if there's some wind farm goes up, or there's some planning permission comes up, we have some hope value in there as well. So it can give a bit of a clause in. I've got another family that the boys that have gone off, they've said, look, we know Fred wants to farm, but if he doesn't, we get to buy it at 75% of the thing, because we want to keep it in the family. So there are many, many ways, but the sooner you start talking about it, and these are all things to have with your children, you know, and as a couple, what do you want to have? What do you want to do? I want to farm. I don't want to farm. You know, where do you want to live? I want to live in the big house in the middle of the farm, so it's bigger than the neighbours and everything's happening there and I've got control and I can see everything. It might be, I want to live in the town. No dust, no straw, no salesmen. You know, peace and quiet. When I'm off, no interruptions. It's so important you talk about this. And whatever you do, I know it's hard, it's expensive building a property now, but what is it about just building an annex or splitting a house in 2, or, you know, so we're all on top of each other? You know, with the best will in the world, we do need a bit of space. We like different things. We like a bit of privacy. So I really, really urge, it's maybe okay short term, and I know some families can make it work brilliantly, but, you know, ideally give people a bit of space so we can close the doors, come in and out and have friends whenever we want. What do you want to achieve? What do you want to live? What do you want to do? How do you want to spend your life? I want to finish at 5 o'clock and I want every other weekend off. I want every weekend off. The sooner you talk about this, you're managing expectations. Because some people, they just live to farm. They haven't got an interest. They will find a job to do even when there isn't one, because they don't want to be at home backing the kids. They don't want to go to the mother-in-laws. They don't want to go to the garden centre. And there is always something to do at the farm. You know, but other people, they do want to be at home. So it starts with you. What do you want? And are you ready to make the change? Because it will take you to drive this. You are the powerhouse. You will be the unpopular one. You will be the pain in the arse. You will be the nagger. And you will have to make them sit down. You will have to make them read the documentations or read it to them and get them to sign it. You will have to nag the accountant. You will have to chase up the solicitor. It will do your head in. But you're not alone. You're now in a room full of similar, like-minded people in exactly the same situation. Start a WhatsApp group. How did you do it? What did you do? Right, I'm going to see you next week, and who's going to have this conversation? And it really helps build morale, because then the men realise, and the families realise, and your mother-in-law realises, your daughter-in-law, son-in-law, Fred the dog, whoever, they all realise it's not just them. We are going to cause an absolute sensation and really drive change within our rural communities and bring the fun back into farming. Have a time frame. You know, for some people that maybe want to retire, well, we maybe can't afford it, we don't get on, so let's go and have a career elsewhere, and then I'll have bought a house, I'll have paid my mortgage off, so Mum, Dad, I can buy into this farm, or you can live in my house. We maybe can't work together. Well, let me have my time. I didn't get to the farm till I was 60, so let me have at least 20 years. And then you can have it. You know, but the sooner you're talking about these things, some people don't want the farm. They can't hand it over to the next generation soon enough because they've hated it. You know, so the sooner you're talking about it, we can make these plans. Have you done the numbers? What is the reality? Do we know how well the farm and the business is performing? You know, how much money do you need to live on? Can the business afford it? Do we need to work off farm? Which I know here, you guys are genius at multitasking loads of jobs just to keep the farm going. Do you know what the spouse wants? And then discussing it with the family. Any of you that are looking at bringing a family member in, I love this, reverse budgeting. The baby's born now that's going to live till about 200 on the planet. So just imagine, today we're living to about 88. And how many generations are living off a farm when we're living to that age? So potentially, how many are going to be living off a farm if we're living to 200? So I want to really encourage my farming clients, how can you be financially independent at retirement so whoever gets the farm afterwards only has to keep one generation? But again, this depends whether they get it debt-free or with debt. You know, so because some people's legacy is, I've got to hand over the farm debt-free, and I always go, why? Should it be debt-free? I don't believe it should. So I want you to think, this is the ruler of life. I want to think where you are, and it's a really good exercise to do with your kids and everything as well. What age do you want to retire? So put your age down at the moment, so I'm 52, and I want to retire when I reckon I'm going to be about 70, because I don't really work that hard. I don't do anything, as you lot will testify after this, and I can get myself into an awful lot of bother if I'm left on my own too long. So it'll keep me out of mischief. So I reckon I'm going to work till I'm about 75, and 75, and I thought I was going to sell the business. My girls were interested, so I was thinking that's great, I'll sell the business, so I had no money saved up, which is like many, many farming families. So thankfully at 52, my girl said, you know what, this business looks pretty cool, we want to come into it, and I'm going, oh shit, right, okay. What am I going to live on? Ooh. So at least I'm 52. So I'm suddenly thinking, right, okay, how much money, if I'm going to retire about 70, how much money a year do I want to live on? And this is a great chat to have with your family. And I love doing this with discussion groups. We haven't got time tonight because it blows my mind the difference from some people that says, oh, Heather, I'd struggle to spend 10,000. Exactly. We do not want to retire with that person. And then I've got others that, I think I'd like to retire on 100,000. I think, looking a bit more attractive. You know, but, and folks say, it depends on inflation. It's a game. It doesn't matter. But, you know, it's a really good thing to think about. And for me, I reckon 50,000. I don't think life's going to get any cheaper. Electric food, fuel, cars, all these sort of things. And I want to be able to do something if I want to, rather than that's all I've got to live on. Because sadly, through BSE, foot and mouth, many, many people, or even the financial crisis, you know, suddenly what they thought they were retiring on was very little and they couldn't afford to retire. So this is again, and you know, for me, I put 50,000 on, and I reckon I'm going to work unless you guys stuff it up tonight and that's the end of the career. You know, so 50,000, I'm going to live about 18 years, hopefully, disgracefully. So that's about 900,000 I need saved up. Wow, I'm going to be a millionaire-ess. And shit, you know, I was thinking I was going to be dropping down to a 3-day week and taking things a bit easier. But at least I've sort of thought about this. So I've got a couple of options. I can manage on less, I can work longer, or I can look at my costing and my client base and think, right, okay, what do I need to do? Do I keep putting money into the business, or do I buy a flat and rent it out? Do I do this, do I do that? And there's a time, and it's... But for me, this is so important. If you've got 2 or 3 kids that are coming into your business, and one of them is motivated to earn about 20,000, and one of them isn't motivated to earn 100,000, do you think they will be driven and motivated with the same level of risk, the same level of drive and ambition? And this is many times when families fall out. And it might be we've got a couple of kids coming into the farm and we've got a couple of cottages, and one child settles down and has a family very early and their partner stays at home. The other child might have a career partner and away they go, and we need a new kitchen. And we might say, oh, well, we need a new kitchen. But if you've had all of these talks when you're bringing your children into the business and said, right, we have a budget for £5,000 for a kitchen. We have a budget for £3,000 for a bathroom. Can't do that, can you? Well, if you want the best Italian marble to keep with your friends that are at the golf club, you can have any of that, my darling, but you pay for yourself. That's what the farm pays. And I have got other clients that have said, right, we can keep 3 of you at home, we'll find work for you, and the farm can afford to pay you £10,000. Oh, I can't afford that, I've got kids, I've got everything else, this is ridiculous, throw the toys out the pram. What mum and dad haven't said is that's all you can earn. So it might be that if you're beefing sheep, you could be a consultant, you could be a contractor, you can go and do whatever else, and make it work around you. It's all about being open and honest and managing these expectations. So think about what you guys need. And then what is your goal and driver? Life goes so quick. My God, we're now in April. It seems like blink since it was Christmas when we all got on. There'll be a blink and it'll be Christmas again. And before you know it, when I was in Australia doing my research, I met a long distance wagon driver at 84. I said, what the hell? What are you doing driving long distance wagons at 84? And he says, Heather, I just woke up and I was 84. Thank God he wasn't driving. But that is life, isn't it? You're 76. Boom, I thought I would do it tomorrow. So get a plan in place. Vision, communication, collaboration. Get a plan in place, have deadlines, and mark those deadlines and celebrate your successes. So if all of that was too difficult, here's some decent housekeeping, and it's lovely. Out there in the front, there's some great documents, some great books, and some great guides and everything about what to happen, and how well do you know your business? How many of you are in a partnership? What's up? Any? Yeah? What happens if one of you dies to that business? We celebrate? No, we mourn, we're terribly sad. Generally, depending how many are in the partnership, depending on the ownership structure and everything, for the majority, the bank account will be frozen. So we can't put money in, we can't put money out because you are suddenly no longer a partner. Now this can even happen if there's 4 or 5 of you in a partnership. If there's debt and the person who's died is the one that owns the farm and it's only in their name. There's many, many different circumstances. And have you got a partnership agreement? These are really important for if there's a fallout, if there's a death, if there's a divorce, so we know what the terms are. And often we think, we don't need a partnership agreement because we all love each other. Yes, today. And many banks now, if you're looking at borrowing money, if there isn't a fit-for-purpose partnership agreement, are closing the doors and freezing everything as well. Sole traders. Any of you in here are sole trader? No. Sole trader is exactly the same. If that sole trader dies, everything's locked and frozen. You can't move money in, can't move money out, everything's stuck, can't move the herd book and everything like that as well. So it's so important to think about this. Limited trusts. There's a lot of good things with trusts, particularly if you've got children who are physically or mentally impaired. It's a great way if someone dies quite young, the children are quite young, you might want to put the business into a trust until they're a certain age that you think that they're more mature to be able to make the decisions. But it's really, really important you think long and hard about a trust because there's pros and cons that can be expensive, and make sure you've got the right executors in there as well. Do you, the ConAcre, any agreements, if you're in contract farming, pre-nuts and post-nuts, these are coming in more and more. I'm seeing now that someone's in a partnership, they're having post-nuts so that if anything happens to their marriage, that it mirrors what's in the partnership. So that the partner, if the divorce happens and the person that's going to be is not in the farm, they would maybe get a house and a car and so on, but they're not able to draw on the business. And these are having, if you're doing it maturely for the right reasons, and kids now, some of these businesses are huge, so I think it's okay if you've got your kids and you think, you come with a prenup, but make sure they know they've got a prenup when they're in their early 20s, not the day of the wedding. That is definitely personal. Resources out there, how-to manual. Where are all of your legal paperwork? How many of you in this room have got a will up to date, signed? That's not bad, but not good enough. I would like to think after this meeting, if any of you meet each other again, we have 100% on here. Wills and power of attorneys. How many has somebody got a power of attorney over you? See, that one's not as popular, and it is as important, if not more important. So this is if, you don't have to be gaga on a life support machine and dementia. It could be you're on that cruise because suddenly we're getting a work-life balance, and we were going to be home on Thursday to sign for the new bungalow, and there's COVID or there's a cloudburst and we can't get home, and there's only who's got signature and we could lose that property. So it's looking after your finances and your wealth, but more importantly, it's also looking after your health. And have you spoken about what happens? Do I go in a care home if I'm not well? Do we have the funding that we look after each other at home? And I think it's a great opportunity for family retirement villages. God, we could have a real one. But it's so important to talk about this. And one guy the other day kept saying to his wife, "Don't worry, I've got it sorted." And he said it 4 times. And by the end of it, she was raging with him. And he said, "Well, we've got pigs, darling." Where's the property deeds? Whose name are they in? Do we actually own what we're fighting for? The herd book, whose name's on it? Have we got a signature? The mandates and everything in there as well. Powers of attorney, who's the executors, who's the trustees? Have we got them registered? Mortgages, who are they with? How long are they for? When is everything paid off? The bank account. How many of you does only one person do the banking? What happens if you don't come home? So passwords, authority to sign, and some passwords, have a phone directory with all the passwords in, the login details, your phone, your electric, your social media, all these companies and organisations, please have them written down in this how-to manual. Or have like an Indiana Jones Temple of Doom's map of treasure that they have to get through so many tasks and things before they get the key to the farm or the checkbook. You can have a bit of fun with this. The other thing is savings and pensions. How many of you have got savings and pensions and you've moved companies, get them all together. There's some amazing stories from rural support on this one. But other things, like where's the stopcocks, where's the meters, where's the drains? This could be such a legacy to give your family or not. So it really is important, because if you don't know who the insurance company is, farming, we're one of the most dangerous industries out there. We can't physically lift the tractor or machinery off that person because suddenly they're dead and we can't move the machinery and we don't know who insurance. These are real practical things. So having that book will be the gift to your family, and I really urge you. So I'm conscious of time. Last summary, please create a plan, vision, communication, collaboration. Take advice, take more advice. Keep control, it has to be you. Get deadlines, get appointments, make it happen. Communicate with the family. Sometimes we can't do it on our own. Not that we can't get on, it's just a bit emotional. And also we keep putting it off. So by having an independent facilitator, you've got some brilliant support out here. There's some other ones as well. But by having an independent facilitator, we write it down, we make it happen, and we ask the questions that need to be done. And also then have a review meeting, so because we often work to deadlines. Know your wills and power of attorney, know your numbers, and know your partnership agreements. What knowledge, attitude, skills and habits do you need for the next generation to actually be able to take over the business? What is all in your head that you just know and just do? So how do we coach and train and mentor them? But also for you as the exiting generation, how are you going to adjust? What are you going to do? What's the next skills and jobs that you need? Think about it, plan it, talk it, prepare it. and surround yourself with people that bring out the best in you. Are you surrounded by radiators who lift you up, motivate you, encourage you, challenge you, push you? Or are you surrounded by drains, negative, put you down, won't happen? And that's hard if that's family. And sometimes the right thing to do is maybe to walk away and have that freedom. Is it all worth fighting for? Because sometimes there's no next time. Sometimes there's no second chances. Sometimes there is no tomorrow. So do it today. I want you all to think, what have you actually got out of this session apart from a very nice supper? And someone's going to win some lovely prizes. So what are you actively going to do? Vision, communication, collaboration. Have a goal, have a plan. But what one thing are you going to take home from tonight that is going to help you, help your family achieve your succession, dream and goal, and not be that family that is the living hell?